This is the Unlock Your Inner Creator series, and I'm your host, Noilyn Mendoza. My intention with this series is to spark conversations with passionate changemakers and creatives that bravely dared to dream of new ways and took massive action. Despite the chaos that's happening around us, a radical and liberated future, a new earth can be realized and is possible if we choose to take brave steps. So I invite you to explore with me what that can look like. Welcome, everyone. We are back for interview number 3. So today on this season of the Unlock Your Inner Creator series, we are fresh off the heels of another full moon. And this full moon was a hunter's full moon. It is symbolic of focusing on going inward, doing the internal work, and being in deep reflection. So you all might also already be noticing it. The days are getting shorter. We don't have as much sunlight, at least here in this hemisphere. The nights are getting longer. And this starts the darker half of our year as we start to prepare and get ready for the cold season, for winter. So today I'm being in a place of acceptance and welcoming the shadows with open arms and to see what it can teach us. With this season of the Unlock Your Inner Creator series, I really want to focus on this theme around processing endings and welcoming in beginnings. My intention for this series has been to spark conversations with passionate change makers and creatives that have bravely dared to dream bold, to dream big, and took massive action to make those dreams come true. As we open this conversation, I call in the power and energy of transitions. What does it mean for you when we're here? We're in a threshold right now of stepping forth into the new and leaving the old. I invite you to explore with me what that can look like. And I am thrilled and excited to bring on my sister on so many levels. Sometimes when we're in these spaces together, we always just joke around like, did we know each other before? Probably in another lifetime, because we have so many similar things in our own journey. So we just always laugh. But Rossana is a dear friend and dear sister of mine. We're both pranic healers. And she has an amazing and inspiring healing journey. She suffered for several years with severe back problems due to herniated disc. And because of that, it really had led her to doing work as a pranic healer because it healed her. And she was so moved by that. She wanted to share that with others and let them know that you don't need to live in chronic pain. And so she specializes in pain management for her healing practice. She's been a student of pranic healing for over 7 years and is a certified associate pranic healer. She's also an arhatic yoga practitioner, and she leads regular weekly meditations in both Spanish and English. And she shares pranic healing with others. This is her life purpose. It fills her up. And it helps her to be a better mother, daughter, sister, and friend. She spends her time working as a full-time pranic healer, both in her home country in Mexico and also here in the US. She's currently based in Maryland. And this allows her to interact with so many different types of people, so many different types of cultures, hearts, and minds. I am excited to have you here. Welcome, Rossana.
Thank you
For being here. Great. What else would you like to tell us about you?
Thank you. I think you cover all the major subjects, or like in a broad manner, all what I've been doing. So I think it's perfect. It's perfect. I think the only thing that I'm missing is like we are sisters, because I think you and me you live in Mexico in your previous life, and maybe I live in the Philippines, and that's what is connecting us.
Exactly. We found each other again. We always do. Rossana, I always like to start these conversations by calling in people, by calling in others. And I want to find out from you, who do you want to call in today? Who are the people that have been the most influential to you in your life?
Hmm. I have to say, my daughter, she plays a huge role in my life. Like, whatever I do or I don't do is always based on the love and the support and that bonding that I have with her. So she's a major role in my life.
What would you say have been the biggest lessons?
I think the biggest lesson with my daughter is acceptance, is support, and is strength. I definitely learned that from her because her journey is like a quite unique journey. I always said that she chose me as a mom, so there's not blackmailing there in like, I didn't ask to come to this world. Like, no, you chose me, girl. You knew what was coming with that. And it's impressive how she, whatever she is, wherever she's growing, always pushes me to improve. It also gives me so much knowledge. She's like an old soul, and she is an inspiration. She has been overcoming situations where teenagers have to redefine themselves to fit in a society that is already structured and is rigid and is difficult to grow. So that encouraged me every time to prepare myself more in the pranic healing and to deliver also more healings with the different perspective, right? So she's my stone, my rock.
Yeah, you know, what I think is so interesting, right? Being a parent as well, is you realize that you're actually not the one teaching your kids. They're the ones teaching you,
I'm the one learning for sure.
right? We're actually the learners, the students in
Yeah.
the relationship. And I always say this, right, about my kids. They are the ultimate mirror, right, of things that you perhaps need to grow a little bit more in. And as well as they highlight to you things that should be strengthened. So I am so thankful for our little teachers.
Yeah, and they challenge you. Like mine is a challenging kid. Like she will push me to improve, but there's always, when she has a but, there's always an explanation behind. Like, I don't want to do this because. So whatever she explains to you is like, okay, now where's the manual? What do I say to
Yeah.
this? It's like an old soul telling you how the things she sees from her perspective. And sometimes as a parent, what I found out is like sometimes you make it about yourself when it's not the way to do it. Like, it's always about them, their view, their growth, and not feeling guilty or not feeling that you have to do this because everybody says that, or because you're in your family, this is a tradition. So that's the part that has been challenging, like to honor what I really believe in, what I really do to grow my daughter on that way, like what is valuable to me and to her.
And I received that. Yeah, in a lot of ways. I resonate with that. So, Rosanna, you haven't always been a pranic healer. You wore many hats before, right? You lived many lives, as I like to say. Talk to
Yeah.
me a little bit about your journey. How did you get here?
Well, I was born in Mexico and I moved to the US 7 years ago, just 7 years. And while I was in Mexico, I also wore many, many hats. I studied tourism, so I was in the tourism industry, but more as a public servant. So I'd be the manager of in a specific county for tourism to promote tourism to the world in that specific county. I was in the real estate industry too for a long time, and then I came with my daughter to live. But we live in Louisiana. That was my first home here in the U.S. And that is when I run into pranic healing. But at the time that I got there, I had to wait for a little time until I was able to work, right, officially. And as a good immigrant, you do whatever they tell you to do. You follow somebody else's lead that already is living here,
Yeah.
and then you are offered some opportunities. There's this work, and this is the work. Of course, it's most of it labor work. So it was first of all complicated to come down from but I was the head of the Department of Tourism and I'm going to clean now.
Yeah.
So it was complicated, but it's like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to think about it. Nobody knows me here. I'm going to start fresh, right? So it was also the advantage of it. It was hard because coming from pride, I had to overcome that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then I found it was really good doing that. Really, I'm really good at cleaning. I'm really good at organizing. And I was doing that, and that's how I ran into pranic healing. One day that I was going with my daughter to just show her the world. She had a difficult time adapting to the US. And since my background is in tourism, I always try to look for fairs, events, something that will distract her mind. And I ran into this intro class about healing and energy. And we just went into it and stayed there. I thought I spoke English until I moved to Louisiana because I have a hard time understanding. But I was there and I'm just, so from all the talk, maybe I got 60%, right, of it. But it was so interesting and I felt like I just need to keep going. They give me information about the classes and the workshops coming. And then I was like, I like this, but I don't know if I can afford this.
Mm.
But the cleaning business, like I started because somebody invited me to do it. And then every time I have a class, another house, I will have another house, I will have another extra thing to do that will allow me to get that exact same amount of money that was needed for the class.
Wow. So it just, like, you didn't exactly plan, right, to take all of these classes. What I'm hearing is you wanted to, and then something magically appeared in terms of you being able to get that money.
Yes, and I have to say, what drew me more to it is that I hear that I was able to heal. So part of your body, part of your emotions. And for me, that was like a major call because I was in a foreign country where I didn't know the medical system, where I felt vulnerable, when my daughter was having a difficult time and I was having a difficult time. So healing in my head made sense. So I think that's the part that kept me strong. But I really, really it wasn't my end goal. It just kept coming and popping into my way. And I don't know if by the third level, I was like, wait a minute, like every time I need to, or one class is coming, like sometimes it was tips. There's just the people in the house, they like the word so much, they will tip me. And there was the exact same amount to complete the course. And I'm like, if I'm getting this because of this energy like this, I'm gonna stick with it. Like there's a no-brainer. No, I'm not gonna go around difficulties when I just have to follow. And that's how everything started. And I didn't want to go apart from it because I knew I was able to identify the blessings, the miraculous coincidence that came with that.
Yeah, and I know you're doing quote signs, air signs, right? But I don't know, were they coincidences, right? I always feel like nothing is.
No. At the time, it looked like that because I didn't know more how energy worked. It's like we always have this intuition that it might work like that, but you don't have the knowledge to process in your brain and then do it because it benefits you, because you know all what it involves, right? At the moment, it was just like magic things happen.
Yeah. So, Rossana, you bring up actually a really good point. It's like you were following something.
Yes.
You didn't exactly know what it was, but something piqued your interest. And then you went to this workshop and then, oh, this is really interesting. And then you desired to do another thing and this money came out of nowhere. You're able to do it. And it was almost like you were listening. You were listening to something that's bigger.
Do you know what another you mentioned about the darkness, embracing the darkness? I think that I have eventually to accept my vulnerability. Like I was in a vulnerable place. And usually I found when you are there, you connect to your faith. Like you just leave the ego, the pride, because you don't have any more. Like it's not gonna help you anymore to do. You are really vulnerable. So what you do is to connect to your faith. So that was a part that it could look like darkness, but in reality, it's opening you the door for a world that you did not imagine. It's like you have to surrender this part, and after you overcome this, that you believe is darkness, is only the entrance to something that you had no idea that is coming. I think that's why I kept going. I had to overcome all those like pride, fear, and it's like it was like a tunnel. It might be dark, but just go through it. Just go through it, and then you will go to the end of something new.
Yeah, Rossana, what you just said
Yeah.
completely made me pause. It looks like the darkness. And I'm sure that that was probably a moment in your life, like you said, like you're coming from another place where, work-wise, career-wise, you were here and you had to let go, right? It was a very humbling experience to then go from that and then different types of jobs so that, like it's the reality, right? Because I come from an immigrant family too. You do what you need to do, right? So that you can survive. But what struck me about what you said is like, you think it's darkness, but it's actually the beginning and opening of something that is even beyond your own comprehension. It's taking you to a place that you didn't even think that you needed to go to.
Yeah, that's exactly how I think at the moment I couldn't see it like that. Again, it was just I was just following my faith or my intuition, however you want to call it. But I think the important part, I didn't stop. In my case, it was because of my daughter, because I knew I have to take care of her. So
Yeah.
I was doubtful. I'm not gonna lie. It's not like, oh yeah, I have everything clear. I'm gonna no, like at the moment you're in a survival mode and you do what you have to do, like you said. And now like looking back after studying and like embracing totally what that happened is that I can understand. So sometimes we go to the challenging times, but then it will make sense. And it's funny because like in my culture, all the grandpas have this saying that you will hear and just yes, yes, grandpa, yes. But it's just words of wisdom, right?
Yeah.
And I could hear them all now and then, but until you live them, they make sense. So I think that was it's not that I knew much. It's just like I had like several things that helped me. Like I needed to take care of my daughter, so I had love, tons and tons of love that were my motivation. I had to surrender to whatever I thought I was, to my mask or to whatever the role I was playing, and just not stop, just keep going. And eventually that darkness led to it was again the beginning, like the bridge, the connection to another opening.
And there had to be so much trust and faith that you can get there.
Yes.
Yeah. And and I'm thinking of folks that might be watching this that maybe in a similar spot that you were several years ago, right? Like it doesn't seem clear right now what is happening.
Yeah.
Right? What advice or words of wisdom, like if you could go back to yourself several years ago, what would you think is be really important for that version back then of, of you to know so that you can keep going?
I think that probably will tell myself not to judge myself that hard. I think one of the what stopped me the most or what it made my trip through the darkness longer, it was that I was judging myself a lot. And even though I can, if you're experiencing somebody's experience that situation right now, I mean, the things that are happening in the world globally are not the most encouraging, right? And you might not feel an improvement, you might feel stuck, but always there's like a process. It's a changing process. Sometimes we deliberately change, sometimes we're pushed to that change. So maybe this is a time where you're being pushed because you were not moving. So you have to learn to not to be that resistant, not to judge yourself that much, and to celebrate your victories and to celebrate the people you have around with. I think I missed a lot of opportunities to be happier, to embrace that moment. And there's something that I'm working constantly, and I have this in my mind, like be present. Until today, I'm using it, but until now, it came to my mind like this: be present. Because at the moment, I tried to take my daughter to this festivity so she can enjoy, but I was not present. I was stressed. I was worried. I was thinking what I did not deliver. So I judged myself too much. And I did not realize I was depriving my daughter for that love that in the moment, by being present, I could have shared with her, right? So being present in the moment, not to judge yourself, and integrate the joy. Like sometimes we have to laugh about the things that happen, about what we can, what we don't have to. It's just like everything is a learning process. And we have tools. I know that you can provide for them many, many tools. It's not like before. We have like the network, literally like the internet. We can be connected easier to each other, not like before. So there are many, many advantages. Like count your blessings too, right? Like what I have now that I didn't have before, that I thought that I was in a good place, right? And I can actually use now. And I'm not going to go back. I have to be present. What do I have in this room that I can use to help myself to go through the day probably? And tomorrow I will do the same. What do I have now here available that I can use to go through the day? Even if I'm in the darkness, I have some tool that I can use.
Yeah, thank you for that, Rossana. I've been thinking about that a lot. There's this collective energy that's happening right now, right? As more places open up, you really feel like this antsiness in the air of people are just so eager, right, to get back. And then I think at the same time, there's also this nervousness of, but I don't want to go back to what it was before. Yes. Or, like there's a little bit of still this unknown and this urgency to get back to quote normal, right? And I feel like we're kind of in this prolonged in-between period. And I think for me, before the pandemic, the only times of the year that I would really feel that potency of this type of energy would be around the end of the year, because everybody's really conscious. It's like the end of the year, we're saying bye to this year, and then we're about to walk into the new. And I remember reading something, I think it was last year, and it really, really stuck with me. It was around how do we honor this in-between space? And it was just only probably in the last month that I realized there's another way to think about it. And you said it, you just reminded me right now. It's the in-between space is actually the present moment.
Yes.
Because so many of us are stuck either like commiserating this or like replaying this tape of our past and being judgmental about it, or I wish that we could go back to that, or we're thinking too far ahead into the future, that we're never like right here right now. Like I'm sitting on this chair right now, I'm in this room right now, and I'm having this really awesome conversation with a good friend right now.
Exactly.
And you also talked about gratitude, and I think gratitude is just one of those practices that always brings you back right away to the present, which we don't do enough of.
Yes, that is true. We just take for granted. We overlook. Yes.
So, what are 3 things that you're thankful for? So I'm turning the question back to you, because this is something that we actually were taught to always do when we come into space with other pranic healers. Name 3 things you're thankful for right now, Rossana.
Thankful for this opportunity to share with you, because I think it reminded me how much blessings I have now.
Yeah.
I was recalling and I was like, wow, I'm in a way different place right now. So I'm thankful for this space. I'm thankful for the teachings and healing, because without them, my life would be completely different. Completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thankful for my daughter.
Yeah.
I love
Full
her
circle.
so much, so much. Everything goes back to that beautiful soul.
Yeah. Yeah. We give thanks for her. We give thanks to the teacher. So, you and I always talk about energy because that's what we do, right? That's one of our identities. But for folks who are not familiar with energy work, what would you think is an important thing for them to know about energy?
Well, we live in it's like gravity law. One of the masters says, like, you might not be conscious or aware, but energy is around all the time. We practice energy, how the laws of energy work, but we are not aware by paying attention. When they say when you pay attention, you attract. That's energy. Like the simple exercise we always do. If you think of a red card, they say it's like a mental situation too, but you're gonna start spotting every red card, but it also works like that in the energy world. So I think it's just we're all energy. I'm also impregnated. I'm trying to figure out what is a digestible way to say about energy. And it has many representations. Spiritually, we have energy. Physically, we have a battery that feeds this body. Like our body is a perfect machine, really. Like what is it feeding it? It's energy, right? Energy can also mean healing. Like I specializing in pain management. So I was used to live with pain until I started getting your healings. And then like that's energy. For me, energy also is because the pain was so frustrating sometimes and limited my decisions, what things I do and what didn't do. So energy in the form of healing for me was a full different world. I was able to feel that I can achieve more. I don't have to hide. I don't have to say, no, I don't want to go to do this because now energy is helping me. So it has really a lot of connotations, a lot of ways to apply. It's like a completely different world. But we coexist with this world. So I guess what is best would be like just invite everybody to read more about energy, to connect with you with your healing work. And I know you have many resources available for that. The funny part is when you start reading it or experience it by firsthand, then it makes a click. It makes sense. So maybe until you experience, it will make more sense to you that rather than if I explain and talk and talk and talk. If you experience, let's say, a healing with Noi, it will click and you will be able to understand and feel it what energy is. I think that's the best thing that I can say.
Yeah. And I also like to think of it as it is hard to explain, right? Like, how do you explain something that you can't see, but you definitely feel it? It's just like the energy that's running our computers right now to be able to do this interview. I don't see it, but I know that if I press a certain button that my computer will turn on. And then when I don't have enough battery, I need to, charge it, right? I don't
Energy,
see it, but it's here.
yeah, energy is also when you're thinking, like a good example is when you're thinking of a dear one or a friend that you haven't seen in a long time and you think of that person so, I don't know how to explain it, like just you think about that person with any blockage into it, like, oh, I wonder how this person is. And then there's that day, the next day, that person calls you.
Yeah.
You said
I definitely had that happen.
Me too. And it's like, but now I said like, oh, you know what? My not telepathy, but my energy works better than my WhatsApps.
Yeah. I'm concentrating on you a lot, so I materialized you right now.
Yes, that's energy. That's why I said like there are many we live around it. It's just we are not taught to identify it as such.
Yeah.
But it is all around.
I love that. So that's a perfect example of how somebody, right, that's not necessarily an energy worker, can use energy.
Yeah.
What do you think are some tips for folks who are not energy workers like us What should they be mindful of?
I think they can practice. Like, you don't have to believe us, but practice your thoughts. Just think of something that you want, or that you, or a person, something simple that is like an exercise for you, and see how long you take maybe to connect with that person, with that, attract that situation. But also be aware, because whatever you think, you create, right? So recommend is like better, like positive things that you want in
Yes,
your life. Because if you concentrate on how much
exactly.
this person bothers you at job, like I cannot,
Yes.
it's gonna keep going in Westwood. Like you are feeding it, feeding it, and feeding it, and it's gonna be connected to you. So you can practice actually to pay attention and to think on one thing, and then it will come to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great example, and also a good recommendation. It's like, yes, think of something, but the more attention that you put onto something, it just grows. And we all know that, right? So why not put your attention on something that you want to bring into your life? So, Rosanna, how can our listeners connect with you?
Yes, I have a website. My business is Meraki Prana, and I'm gonna leave this with you. Maybe you can put it in there. I
Yep.
have a Facebook page too, Meraki Prana, and Instagram page, Meraki Prana. And I'm also part of a group that is called the Collective Spark that I know you're gonna have here sharing. So you can reach out to me to social media, visit my website. I speak English and Spanish, so if you are a Spanish speaker, please feel welcome, and there's a space here for you too. Thank you.
Wonderful. And Meraki means what in Greek?
Meraki means in Greek something that is done with your undivided attention, that you pour your soul into what you are doing, you are producing, like creating. And I chose that name because I found that I do that through my healings. And when I'm working with my clients, I put my attention because I want them to experience the best. And it's always their results, not mine. Now we're instruments, but on my part, they will have my honest work that comes from my heart. That's why Meraki is about.
I love it. Well, you have a lot of soul, and I know you pour a lot of your soul into your clients. So last question for you. We're going to turn it back to the name of this series, Unlock Your Inner Creator. So Rosanna, what does being a creator mean to you?
Being a creator for me means opportunity, means joy, means community, and means love. All together.
All together, all together. We're going to end with this. This is a book that I'm reading called Transition. So just give me a number and let's see what the wisdom is.
Oh, three is my number. It's funny because you said this is your third interview.
Oh,
Three.
yeah. Triads, power of threes.
Yes.
Okay.
Just three.
Okay, let's see. So appropriate. Today, I choose to embrace change. I open my heart to its hidden but abundant blessings. Give thanks.
Yeah.
Gratitude. It's here.
Yes.
Oh,
see, that's energy.
that's
Right
energy.
there.
You put it out there. We found the page, number 3.
Yeah, that's where.
Rossana, thank you so much. This has been a fun and awesome conversation. I love always just being in space with you. Many of you all don't know, I actually see Rossana. We talk to each other several times a day. So I'm so thrilled that I was able to bring her light, her love, her energy to you all. So stay tuned. There'll be more interviews with other creators, and just thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see everybody soon.
Thank you, Noi.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation and you'd like to help support this interview series, make sure to tune in to the next episode and share it with others. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at The Radiant You, you as in the letter U, and sign up for my newsletter by visiting www.theradiantu.com. Again, that's theradiantu.com. Thanks, everyone. And remember, dream big, dream bold, and take brave steps. I'll see you next time.